us about the moment when the congressman signed the bill live on stage. What did that feel like after multiple years of work?
It's like the highlight of professional career or how I make a living. So I don't know if that's accurate, but anything outside of my family, it is the highlight of my life, I would say. And it was a tangible, like, you put in all this work. Like, we had over 250 congressional meetings to get this done, and the progress is not always very tangible. So we make a big deal of celebrating progress, and sometimes people are like, "We're not there yet. Stop." It's like you're spiking it on the 50-yard line. I'm like, man, this is not how it works. And also, football players celebrate first down. So relax, pal. That was a moment where it was like, holy shit, this is real. This is happening. It was absolutely amazing. It's something I'll never forget. I just wish I asked him for the pen. That's my only regret.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Rachel, how did it feel for you?
It was very exciting. And it goes back to Brendan talking about the video you watched in school about how a bill becomes a law. And it's, oh, this is what they're talking about.
What if the biggest victory for homebuyers in years didn't come from Congress, but from a grassroots movement of mortgage brokers and real estate professionals who refused to back down? On today's episode of the Real Estate Roundtable, we're diving into how two industry leaders, Brendan McKay and Rachel Clark of the Broker Action Coalition, took on billion-dollar credit bureaus and won, protecting the privacy of every homebuyer in America. This isn't just a story about advocacy, it's about power, persistence, and how ordinary professionals can change the rules of the game. I'm your host, Lancelot Lenard, realtor, builder, and the voice behind Florida's most dynamic real estate conversations. Let's get started. Brandon, Rachel, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, hell yeah, man. I'm gonna have you follow me around and introduce me into every room that I walk into. That was awesome, man. I love it. Thanks for having us on, man.
Hey, it's
Absolutely.
awesome to have you guys. Let's say every moment starts with a frustration. Take us back to the beginning. What moment made you say, someone has to do something about trigger lead harassment?
Sure. So it started because we were advocating for mortgage brokers and their consumers, and we simply asked them, what was the most important thing to you? What do you want us working on? Like, when we launched a Broker Action Coalition and started raising money, and people would donate and they would be asked that question. They would have a list of issues that we knew people cared about and the ability to put in whatever they wanted. And trigger lead legislation was number one, and it wasn't close. And money talks. And as an active mortgage broker, it's something that I also hated, absolutely hate the practice. So we took our marching orders and then got to work. And 3 years later, ba-boom.
And what is trigger lead harassment? Please explain so listeners will know.
Yeah, sure. Rachel, why don't you take that one?
So, trigger lead harassment, one is harassment for the clients that we serve as mortgage brokers. When we get a client, we have to pull their credit, obviously, to see if they qualify for a mortgage. So what happens is the credit bureaus then sell that data, and then other brokers, other banks, other retail loan officers are bombarding these clients with phone calls, text messages, and saying, hey, I've got your application here. I'm going to help you out. And it's a confusing process for many clients.
Gotcha, gotcha. How did this frustration evolve into a national organization?
So it was our first big undertaking, right? Like, we identified that mortgage brokers did not have the voice in Washington, D.C. that we felt that they should have. Mortgage bankers and mortgage banks that are out there in the world have the MBA, who does an absolutely amazing job representing them, and MBA represents many of the wholesale lenders as well. But actual voice for mortgage brokers, it's not non-existent, but it wasn't as strong as we felt that it should be. And as we sit here right now, mortgage brokers write over 25% of the mortgage originations in this country. 1 out of 4 mortgages are originated by a mortgage broker, and that's a substantial chunk. Now, that number's up. It was single digits not that long ago. So we understand why that was the case, but community that large in the industry deserves a seat at the table. And that was our main goal. And it's okay, we're going to get this seat. While we're fighting for it, we need a reason to be talking about things and actual issues. We can't just be like, here we are, we deserve a seat. Now, what do we want to talk about? We need to bring the conversation to them and also make real change. So our overlapping goal is to get mortgage brokers that voice in DC, and we've made a lot of progress on it. But we're gonna try to make as much positive change in a more narrow way as often as possible along the way.
Awesome, thanks. What challenges did you face convincing busy professionals to care about policy?
You said not to ramble in our responses. There's many. Mortgage brokers are amazing people. I'm a mortgage broker. I own a mortgage brokerage outside Washington, D.C. We're not always the most naturally altruistic people either. Like I have a saying that I tell people, I'll PG it a little bit for you, but at some point in time, every mortgage broker told their boss to go after themselves. I can do this better without you, which is amazing. It's why our community and why mortgage brokers are what they are able to serve consumers as aggressively as they do. But it also is the type of person that sometimes might not want to put money into something that they don't see an immediate return on. And I feel that as a business owner too. And what we're essentially selling, if I was to commoditize it, would be an insurance policy, right? If mortgage brokers didn't have the voice that they should have coming out of the fallout of 2008. And that's why a lot of the laws and regulations are written in a way where we currently face an unequal playing field in a number of ways. And we are pitching the possibility of making sure that never happens again, which is not the most abstract thing you can reach out and grab onto. So if I was to list one, that would be the biggest challenge that we face when it comes to raising money from mortgage brokers directly.
Got you, got you. Was there a turning point where you realized we're actually making a dent?
That's a good question. I haven't gotten that question before. I'm curious if Rachel has a different answer. Probably the first accomplishment that I felt that we had in the world of advocacy that I really felt the love back from the community was actually in Florida. So Hometown Heroes is a down payment assistance program for first veterans and all the people that deserve help the most and that we want to keep within our communities. Previously, a couple of years ago, mortgage brokers were not able to offer Hometown Heroes. It was limited to direct lenders and banks. And the reasons why is just mortgage broker slander coming out of 2008 and just nobody ever stepped up and said, hey, things are different now. And frankly, mortgage brokers make up over 25% of the market nationwide. It's probably closer to 50 in Florida. And the last time that Florida had a lot of money to give down payment assistance programs, they had trouble getting the money out the door and we're sitting on too much of it and got a lot of criticism for it. And we said, hey, like, why stop restricting your sales force when it comes to this money? Stop handcuffing yourself. And the timing was right because they were changing the investor on the product. And we were able to get, with the help of others, everything that I talk about, other groups are helping too. I want to be very clear about that. And we were able to get that changed. And mortgage brokers are now able to offer Hometown Heroes to their customers. And that fund runs out of money every single quarter, which might sound like a bad thing, but it's a good thing. The money is there to be used. And Florida mortgage brokers were absolutely ecstatic, but mortgage brokers across the country were as well because they knew that we did it there, we can do it other places, and we've kicked that door down. And that is a state problem across the country, and we've had success in getting that changed in a number of other states since then as well.
That's awesome. Thank you for that because I have helped multiple clients get that program, and I usually only use mortgage brokers on my end if I'm not doing the deal. Because this is the one thing that I've learned in my long career in real estate is everybody's like, oh, but I bank with Bank of America. Just because you bank with them, your account is what, 5, 10, 20, $30,000? They don't really count you in as a major customer. If you have a 20, 30, $40 million account with them, maybe they'll give you a good deal. But otherwise, you're getting the same cookie cutter deal as everybody else. So most of the time, you can find a mortgage broker that can get a better deal at the end of the day for the client because they're shopping it around. They use all the major lenders and they have deals that their company's done. So it's just a way, I think it's a better way of doing business a lot of times, in my opinion. But that's personal.
Lancelot, that is music to my ears. And if you can say that to every realtor that you know, as every time you see them, hammer that point home. I appreciate that. And I believe it to be true as well. But I know that perception take a little bit of time to catch up with each other. And I hope that sentiment becomes more widespread. So
I mean, in my area, I think most realtors use mortgage brokers. It's only when the client already comes with, I don't want to use anybody. This is my bank. I want to use them. I sat down with my person, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, we could use your Bank of America. And then But just so you know, be aware that our contract's not going to be 30 days, it's going to be a 45-day contract because they're more than likely going to take a lot longer than a mortgage broker can. I know my mortgage broker can close a deal in 2 weeks. Is Bank of America capable of doing that? No, because it's just the bureaucracy that goes on in a big company like Bank of America or Chase or Wells Fargo. This is all for the big guys. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that it's a lot more steps to a
Well,
process.
and they're not as focused, right? Like a
Yes.
bank makes money in countless different ways, and they have all these different divisions. And hey, I love my banker. I'm not going to do a mortgage with them. And frankly, compared to their other lines of income, like selling credit cards, the margins are significantly lower on mortgages, and the compliance and regulations and the amount of expertise operationally that you need to complete these transactions is so high. So you have low margins and high operational costs. Like, it makes sense that they're not putting a ton of focus into it, and I don't blame them for it.
Yeah,
But yeah, if they don't want to focus on them, that's fine. We do. So
we
there you
do, exactly. So taking on the credit bureaus is no small feat, guys. I commend you for that. It's awesome work that you guys done. Walk us through that campaign. What were the biggest obstacles?
Sure. Fortunately, it wasn't all three credit bureaus. There was only one that was really pushing back on it hard. When it comes to selling trigger leads, one bureau sells a astronomically larger percentage more than the other two, and the other two kind of sat out of the fight, which we appreciate. Thank them very much. When I do two bureau polls, I do those two. That's my thank you to them. So that was part of it, and they are well funded. So the bill started getting a lot of traction last Congress. So just as a reminder, congressional sessions are every 2 years. And then if it doesn't pass, like you're technically starting over, but you still have a lot of the same momentum. So this legislation had been introduced in previous Congresses. And up until last Congress, it really got no traction. Not a ton of co-sponsors, no committee hearings, these technical things, the steps of how a bill becomes a law. If you remember the old video from school, that stuff, that is how it works. And that stuff matters. So last Congress, they sat on the sidelines because they were like, okay, whatever. This is like past Congresses. It's not going to get a lot of movement. And we don't need to jump in and be the bad guys if it's just not going to happen anyways, because they really don't have an argument other than we make money from selling people's data without their permission. Not a great argument to be making, right? That we caught them off guard with the amount of traction we were able to get last Congress. And it came damn close to happening last year, like really close, but didn't quite get there. But this Congress, they were absolutely ready and were pushing back. Now, as much as I love a David versus Goliath story, like the back versus the credit bureaus or one big many billion dollar credit bureau, that wasn't really the case. I am very proud of the role that we played, and maybe we were the tip of the spear and very effective in the work that we did, but we weren't alone. The Mortgage Bankers Association did a ton of work on this legislation, and they're a gold standard in our industry when it comes to advocacy in DC. National Association of Mortgage Brokers also put a lot of work in. ABA, the Bankers Association put a lot of work in, as well as a lot of other organizations and like private entities too. Rocket Mortgage was on this from the beginning. So when you start looking at that, and this was something I had said previously, people are like, it'll never happen. The credit bureaus have too much money and this and that. And it's, look, man, like we're no small potatoes over here. Like the Mortgage Bankers Association represents all the biggest mortgage companies in the country. Rocket Mortgage, what are we talking about here? I think that's important to know as well. But frankly, I'd like to think it really came down to all that stuff matters, but facts matter. And I know what everyone's perception of is how broken DC is. And I'm not here to tell you that what you hear is inaccurate, maybe sometimes, but it's definitely not the whole truth. And on issues, especially if they're too boring for cable news, what is real and what is good does absolutely matter. And our argument was ironclad. Stop selling consumer data without their permission. That is the baseline argument that we're making here. And like the credit bureaus are private entities. They are or not private because they're publicly traded for-profit companies. Those companies should not be able to sell consumer data without their permission. This is not a crazy argument that we're making. So I think those are the reasons that we're be able to be successful in the face of real opposition that had a lot on the line.
Yeah. And how did you organize mortgage pros across the country to speak with one voice?
But that's a better question for Rachel.
So the way we do it really is honestly, we come up with the message, like our team internally will talk about what do we want to say? What is the message we're trying to get across here? And then we create the letters for them. We give them a simple link that says, here, go to this website, type in your name, your address, and then they will personally send letters to their representatives, but we're the one like crafting that message for them. So it's not like we're going out to mortgage brokers and saying, hey, go type up a letter and come up with your own ideas and send it to your representative. We actually make it very easy for them to send the message over. And then when we do events and they do speak to their representatives, we're very big on walking them through the conversation. Hey, this is what you need to say. Like, these are the points you need to make. This is the story you need to tell. And it goes back to selling consumer data without their permission is wrong.
Yep.
What happens after that? That's what they were fighting. But when you go back to the core message that we were presenting, which you can't really argue with, and if you do, like, we felt like you just looked dumb to say, oh yeah, I should be able to sell consumer data. Then what are you going to say to that? As a representative, are you going to say, yes, I feel like people should sell my constituents' data? No, they're going to say, I agree with you, like, data shouldn't be sold. So
And
that's how we make it very simple.
And like to add on to that too, it's like DC is like everywhere else. And if you're selling to a congressional office, if you're pitching them, we would explain to mortgage brokers, like, we know all the reasons that you hate trigger leads, but you need to speak to why they should hate trigger leads. And it's similar, but it's different. It screws up my business, and they want us to be able to do business, but what they really care about are their constituents and how does it impact their constituents. So whenever we're in DC, we always have a consumer first argument. Like, we have a saying, what is good for the consumer is good for the mortgage broker. And if they care about the consumer more, then let's just lead with those arguments because they're going to be a lot more effective. So that's like the pitch. As far as like social media, we are a movement born out of social media. And I hate social media for a lot of reasons, but it can be an incredibly powerful tool in organizing communities towards a shared goal. So we leverage that heavily on how we get those links out that Rachel messaged so we can deliver the message where it needs to go.
That's awesome, guys. So tell us about the moment when the congressman signed the bill live on stage. What did that feel like after multiple years of work?
It was like surreal. It's like the highlight of a professional career or how I make a living. So I don't know if that's accurate, but anything outside of my family, it is the highlight of my life, I would say. And it was a tangible, like, you put in all this work. Like, we had over 250 congressional meetings to get this done. And the progress is not always very tangible. So we make a big deal of celebrating progress. And sometimes people are like, we're not there yet. Stop. You're spiking it on the 50-yard line. I'm like, man, this is not how it works. And also, football players celebrate first down. So relax, pal. But that was a moment where it was like, holy shit, this is real. This is happening. And it was absolutely amazing. It's something I'll never forget. I just wish I asked him for the pen. That's my only regret.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Rachel, how did it feel for you?
It was very exciting. And it goes back to Brendan talking about the video you watched in school about how a bill becomes a law. And it's, oh, this is what they're talking about. And so for me, I had to go back and apologize to my high school teacher. And I'm sorry I didn't pay attention enough in class to really understand how big this is. But being there and seeing that, I think that was the moment I was like, we're making a difference. We at the back are making a difference for Representative Rose to come to us and say, hey, it's not for us, it is for him, but we're a part of it, right? So that's, I think, my moment. I was like, wow, we're something. Like, we're part of this, we're making a difference. And so
you're officially a lobbyist.
No, that means something. Don't say that. We are not registered and we don't have to. I don't think.
Okay. So there's difference. I thought that they do the same situation.
I mean, we have lobbyists. We have Forbes Tate. They are the largest bipartisan lobbying firm in DC. They're absolutely amazing. They're killers. And one of them, who's been in financial services forever, said, I have never seen anything like that before. That's how I was like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, we go with something.
But there is, and I check on it regularly because it's a very regulated thing too. And it has to do with if you spend a certain amount of your time lobbying to congressional offices and this and that. And I check in from time to make sure I'm on the right side of the line, and we are. So that's why I usually try to use the word advocate instead of lobbying. I run my mortgage practice. I try to stay way on the right side of the line of compliance. So yeah.
Advocate is good. I like that better. I just couldn't think of that word.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind is lobbyist, because that's
less
we hear in TV
out there too. Yeah.
That's what they push down our throats. So that's what comes to mind when something like this happens. And it's great, like positive. I think it's really positive. It's great advocacy on your behalf of getting that bill signed. Now, tell me, how is this going to change the day-to-day experience for Floridians in 2026?
Massively. So the president signed the bill, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, and it has a 180-day implementation period. So this does not go into effect until March 3rd, 2026. Okay. And at that point, you should see drastic, if not complete reduction in the number of solicitation calls that consumers and prospective home buyers are getting when they have their credit pulled. Now, a few things on it to be aware of. There are four exceptions, really three exceptions to the use of trigger leads. One is if they have a mortgage currently, so if they're not a first-time home buyer, their current mortgage servicer can use trigger leads. And really, and the reason behind that is, I'll do it very briefly, like mortgage servicers, they collect mortgage payments, they make a profit based on the interest rate and how long it's on their books. And one of the ways that they keep the loans on their books is by using trigger leads in environments when interest rates drop and people might be refinancing. Okay.
That's for a good, that's for a good reason, you know, like it's
Because
not
yes, if they
trying to
lost
sell you
that
a mortgage.
ability, they would pay less for mortgages and rates would go up. And that's a bad thing for everybody. So that's why it's important. So they will still get a phone call from the mortgage servicer. Now, if it's a purchase transaction, mortgage servicers are, I don't think they're going to start fighting for purchase business. They're not really equipped to do it, but they will get the phone call. If they, also their current loan officer or lender, so whoever originated their current mortgage, so whatever company did it. So if it's a brokerage, if they went directly to a lender or bank, that they can do it as well. So they might hear from them. And then there's an exception that I don't expect to be used very often for their banking relationship. So if they bank with Bank of America and Bank of America wants to start paying for trigger leads, which I'd be shocked if they did, they may get a call from them. Consumers can also opt in to getting trigger leads. Why would they ever do that? They wouldn't on purpose. It was kind of a way of keeping certain congressional offices happy. What if people want to get as many offers as possible and yada, so they can opt in. Something we're going to monitor very closely is to make sure that the credit bureaus don't try to set up a system where people opt in without realizing that they did. For example, Credit Karma. I don't have any reason to believe this is going to happen, but when people are just not clicking Credit Karma disclosures without reading them, as the rulemaking process for this legislation starts happening, we're going to be following closely to make sure that something like that can't happen. They have, just like the opt-out, they have to go to a specific website run by the credit bureaus. Same thing for opting in, what we want to see. But heads up, we try to get what we want all the time, but are not always successful. So there you go.
Thank you guys for that. To be honest with you, now I can apply for a mortgage and not be bombarded with calls because I am a realtor. I'm a real busy guy. And the biggest thing is when, oh my God, I know it's going to happen. I'm sitting around, I'm like, press the button, press the button. Okay, I accept. Boom. Now let's wait. 2 seconds later, my phone starts ringing for 2 days straight, nonstop. I said, "They're killing my battery. Come on, guys. I don't have time to talk to everybody."
I have so many tricks. I don't know if they work. I will oftentimes, especially on refinance, I'll pull their credit on a Sunday and I'm like, maybe they're not working on Sundays. I don't know.
But they do. They do. I'm telling you, they work every day, 24/7. It's like one of those Indian call centers. Just bang you down until they wear you down until you like start talking to them. Insane. And in my opinion, it's your most, how do you call it? The most worthy commodity you carry is your time. Okay. And when you have to talk, or because as a realtor, you pick up the phone for everybody, because if you don't pick up your phone, what's going to happen? It could be a buyer, it could be a seller, it could be anybody. You could lose business if you don't pick up your phone. So you're picking up your phone, and this other dude on the other side doesn't hang up, doesn't want to let you go, always keeps talking your ear off, and you're a nice guy, so you wait and you wait. 1 minute in, 2 minutes in, then you hang up your phone. But you get 15, 20 of those a day, you're 40, 50 minutes of your day just listening to other people. It's insanity.
And that we would tell congressional offices that's the best case scenario. We heard countless stories of real harm where, because they wouldn't just call your cell phone. If your like work phone number is tied to your credit profile in any way, which it oftentimes is, they'll call your place of work too. And we've heard stories of like police stations where the phone is just blowing up for a day straight and it's unusable. Like that matters. That a police station's phone system being essentially unusable for a day, like people like could get hurt. I don't have to give examples of why that's an absolutely horrible thing. So yeah, it's a big deal and we're super proud of it for a million reasons. Hell yeah.
Thank you for that, guys. Thank you for that. Let's bring it home, guys. Why should Florida realtors and brokers care about advocacy work?
I want to hear Rachel's answer to this too. They should care for all, like we talk about, we want help from all people. Whether you want to step up and volunteer, great. If you don't, that's okay. Write a check because this matters to you. If you're looking for a reason that is why it is in your best self-interest, which we always try to lead with, it's not why I'm doing it, but is that this is your business, this is your livelihood. If you have insurance for your house and for your car and for your life, you should have it for your business as well. And that sounds non-tangible, and it is, but like I can go right back to 2008. and ask any mortgage broker who was in the business prior to then what it was like going through that. And most of them either left the industry entirely, or they went to go work for a large retail lender because of the compliance department that it afforded and how unfair things were at the time. And even if you don't go talk to somebody who went through that, like I did, I mean, my life went from amazing to awful. I went through a 2-year period where life was not good for Brendan. And I won't share you the sob story because frankly, a lot of other people had it a lot worse, but it was a traumatic experience for me. And I don't want anyone else to go through that. But you can just look at current regulations and things that mortgage brokers deal with that was a result of not having enough representation in DC. But if we're speaking from a more a bigger reason other than your own self-interest, I deeply believe that all of us, whether you're in whatever you do, you have an obligation whether trying to be a decent person or just a good citizen to help make things better in any way that you can. And if there's an area, I recognize there are bigger problems in the world than what we are solving. And sometimes I wonder, maybe I should be focusing on those. And maybe one day I will, but I don't have the expertise required to fix those problems. But I do have the expertise required not to necessarily fix the problems, but help. And all of us do. All of you are professionals that know your industry inside and out. And I think on some level, you have an obligation to try to make that better for everyone, not just for yourself. So that's my make the world a better place pitch. But yeah.
Rachel?
I agree with him on the insurance aspect of it. I tell people that you pay for insurance constantly and you hate it, but when you need it, you love it and you're glad you did it, right? So that's what we're saying. If you commit to monthly donations, we're your insurance policy for your business. You could go 5 years and not need it, but then something happens and you're like, oh man, I really need that support. Hey, they've been doing this all along. And you might not notice it as a broker right now. Yes, the trigger lead win is a great win, but we might not have that for a few years. But when we do, you're like, oh, I'm glad I committed to that. I am glad I made that decision to help advocate for myself and my consumers. But I also know in Florida specifically, you'll have a lot of condos, and recently some condo stuff has come, more restrictions and different things like that. That is one thing that we've been looking at to how can we make it easier? How can we make it better when you're looking at condos? And some of that is we need some, I don't want to say guidance, but people who do it all the time. If you work with condos, what does that look like? What could help you? What is beneficial in the industry without destroying the industry? So some of those things is what I look at for Florida specifically. But yes, I go back to the insurance policy. That's what we're here for.
I'll be honest with you guys. It would be nice to have FHA loans on most condos.
It's a mess. Fannie Mae guidelines and FHA guidelines. The FHA condo approval process is an absolute mess. And Fannie Mae guidelines, prior to Surfside, I would argue that they maybe were a little more lax than they should have been, and also a lot of state regulations. The pendulum has swung a little too far to the other extreme, and some reasonableness needs to be brought into it. And as Rachel said, we definitely need input and further expertise, but we also need money, straight up. The more money that we have, it ain't going in my pocket. We're do that. It lets us hire more people. And whether it's a lobbyist in Florida or just additional resources to be able to advocate and push on Fannie Mae and spend more of our time talking to Fannie Mae about common sense guideline changes, organizing other organizations. That is a topic that NAR is obviously extremely interested in. And we've had conversations with them and we're on the same page as well. But there's only so much we can do with the resources that we have. And Capitol Hill is our big focus. And with more resources, we are definitely speaking to Fannie Mae, but we could spend more time doing it and have more people doing it with more money.
Yeah. So can you share examples of how local brokers make a real difference compared to big box lenders?
Sure. I can give what we say to Capitol Hill, but then give some more tangible, actual examples. So something when we're talking to legislators, and whether it's federal or state, about down payment assistance access and why it is so important for mortgage brokers to have access to it, is because mortgage brokers are in these communities. We are neighbors with the people that we serve. We sponsor T-ball teams. I'm on the board of my Chamber of Commerce, right? That's how I get business. Wells Fargo is not in all of these communities, especially the communities that need down payment assistance the most. And not to beat up on Wells Fargo, but they're an easy one. They get in trouble all the time for this kind of stuff. So
yes,
that is, I think, a generally true statement. And when you talk about more specifically, a mortgage broker named Whitley Cooper comes to mind. Whitley is a mortgage broker in the Atlanta area. And there was a particular grant program that she fought tooth and nail to get access to. And this is a grant program that was sitting on money similar to Hometown Heroes. and she wouldn't leave him the hell alone. Do they offer it to every mortgage broker? I don't think so, but you're damn sure they offer it to Whitley Cooper because she's a force of nature and her community is better off for it. They have access to this program in a way that they didn't previously. And I think that's absolutely amazing.
And we need to get these messages out to the public too, because they don't know. Since the lawsuit, before the lawsuit too, that happened last year, realtors have such bad name in the community for some reason. I don't know why, because we spend a lot of our hard-earned money to get the communities better, in a better shape. And we try to help people. And they, oh, you're only out to get your paycheck. It's like, yeah, you know what I do with my paycheck at the end? I go do volunteer work. I do this, I do that. And I like you guys, you only see the billboards and you only see this, and then you at the closing you see the HUD statement that says $6,000, $7,000. You don't see all the other stuff we do to get to those points because we spend a lot of our time out there in the community and doing things for the community. It's just hard to relay that message because it sounds like you're bloating about yourself, that you're only talking about, oh, how good you are, blah, blah, blah. It seems cocky, but you guys, if you don't notice, how else I'm going to tell you? No?
Yeah, no, 100%. Can I give you my feedback on that problem? Because I think part of it is exactly what you're talking about. They see the big commission check, and it's almost, I wish it also had the number of hours that I spent on this transaction and then said X amount per hour, because we can get criticized for the same thing. And it's just, I don't know, man. You were taking plenty of meetings during your job, not doing much, and you still got paid. So let's chill out with that a little bit. But I think the larger issue, and I think a lot of financial professionals face the same problem, is that we are judged on the lowest common denominator within our industry. It gets a lot of attention, and they should get attention because it needs to be fixed. But I think all of us, and I say this for realtors as well as mortgage brokers or financial planners, we need to do a better job of policing ourselves. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a snitch or you have to do this or that, but you just need to talk about it and you need to highlight it and call out the bad behavior, whether you point to a specific person or not, or just say that it's wrong and make it known more often. I think we all, like I said earlier, if you have an expertise in something and you can make it better on a low level or a high level, you have an obligation to do. And I think this kind of speaks to it. And I think all of us need to do a better job of calling out the bad behavior. And I say that because I know it's hard and it's scary, like putting yourself out there like that and you don't know how people are going to react to it. And whether it's in person at events or on social media, honestly. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's still something I struggle with. I spend weeks thinking about something before I might say it. And it's the type of thing that it feels like it's going to be controversial, but it's not. It's the right thing to do. And every single time I feel that way and I go through with it, the response is overwhelmingly positive because the shitheads are too afraid to say anything. Similar to the credit bureau stuff. They don't really have an argument.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you and other realtors to do the same.
It seems like we have to hire a PR company to do our stuff.
NAR's got enough money. You talk to NAR about that, man.
Exactly. They put a lot of those ads out and all that stuff, and it helps a little bit, but it's not the same as local professionals.
My kids go to the school with the newly appointed head of PR at NAR. Hey, maybe I can get in his ear about it this Saturday at our kids' football game. So there you go.
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Also, this is another thing that you guys just did, okay? With this new bill pass. I didn't know about it until you guys came on my podcast, okay? This is something that should go out there. It's like, this is not just for our industry and for us to have a better chance at making more money. This helps every single person out there in this country. Like, I am not, if you're on the do not call list, good for you. They're not going to call you. But if you're not on that list because you don't know how to get there or anything like that, this will immensely help your life when you apply for a mortgage.
I agree. And that's why we're talking
hours. And this is something done by your industry professionals for you. This is for the people, pretty much. Because I think it has a lot more benefit to the people than it does for us mortgage brokers.
No, 100%. 100%. And there were consumer advocacy groups on board with this as well. What I'll say is it's difficult for consumers to organize and advocate for a lot of things, especially something where people go through the mortgage process, like once every 5 years. That's a tough thing to organize and get people out on the streets and this and that. But I agree completely with you. And we're trying to get the message out more. We hired a PR team. That's why we're talking. So
yeah, exactly.
We're doing our best. But yeah, I was really excited when the Washington Post wrote an article about it when the president signed the legislation or when it was headed to his desk. And I was hoping they would do a follow-up of it, different things like that. And I would love to see more publications like that talking about it, because I agree completely. And while it might be tough for consumers to organize on it, man, anyone that's gotten a mortgage in the last 5 or 6 years knows how big of how freaking annoying that was. And if they see that coverage, they're all going to be like, hell yeah. And maybe just a small amount of hope that like our democracy still works on some level or another. Like that the interest of consumers, now it took a lot of industry people getting behind this to push it through, and it was in our best interest too. But like the interest of and of constituents does come through over corporate greed every once in a while. I would like to see it happen in more ways, but once again, I'll do it in the spots where I have the level of expertise to try to help.
That's awesome, man. What misconceptions about mortgage brokers do you wish more agents understood?
Oh man, I love this question. So there's a couple myths or misconceptions, is a fairer word to say, about mortgage brokers out there within realtors. One is that we do not have control of the transaction because we don't have in-house underwriting. Now, first thing I'll say is, just like there are lenders of different shapes and sizes, and there are lenders that realtors do not like working with because they don't close on time. Of course, there's mortgage brokers that might not always close on time. And there's going to be mortgage brokers of all different shapes and sizes, and some have more control over the process than others do. But to paint all of us with that brush is unbelievably unfair and inaccurate. And it also, there's been an evolution of the level of professionalism within mortgage brokers over the last couple of years. The reason we have gone from 8% to 25%, it's not just because we're pulling people off car lots. It is because retail loan officers are making the move over. So like those same people are there. The other is the in-house underwriting. Let me explain it to you this way. If a retail loan officer is unhappy with the way that their loans are being underwritten and they are captive, their only choice is to leave and go work somewhere else. If I am unhappy with the way that a certain lender is underwriting loans, I simply stop sending them business. Furthermore, a captive loan officer is a co-worker with the underwriter. To the underwriters that we work with, I am a client. Now, are they going to do whatever I want? Because no, of course they're going to follow the guidelines, but because of what I just explained, they do have to keep me happy. It doesn't mean they say yes all the time, but it means they're going to probably listen to me a little bit more, because if they don't keep me happy, then I'm going to stop saying business. Now, if I'm being unreasonable, they don't want my business to begin with. But if I run a good shop and I put my files together well and I know what the hell we're doing, which I can promise you I do, then they want our business. And I would argue that you create a company and a brokerage like that, I have more control over the process than a retail loan officer might. Not broadly, but I would argue that I do broadly. I'm not going to say every single mortgage broker does, but a lot of them do. And if you know what the hell you're doing, you can have more control over the process. So have a little nuance. And I know where that pitch is coming from. It's coming from the retail loan officers that they work with. And of course it's coming from their managers who don't want them going to work for mortgage brokers. So that's probably number one. There's others, but that would be number one.
Awesome. Rachel, do you have one?
That would be mine, is the control aspect. But I would also say, when it comes down to it, I feel like mortgage brokers are more educated on the process and like the ways to go about structuring a loan, right? So they can work with people who need the down payment assistance a little better, I think. I think the alternative incomes, bank statement loans, like they don't have tax returns, different things like that. Like mortgage brokers are more creative in this process. They have more options. Honestly, I just think they're better at it. So I think like realtors need to understand, I think if they go to a mortgage broker, they're getting more options than necessarily one, because that broker can bring a lot more to the table.
I agree with you guys, both of you guys, on that. I think that's so true. That I'm not talking about myself being a mortgage broker as well, but I think that the complexity of any kind of loan is better done by a mortgage broker, because they have done so many out of the box thinking kind of ways and face the challenges every single day. You bring a non-cookie cutter loan to a big box bank, you go through the process to 20, 25 days, and they say, we can't do this loan. And now you're stuck and you have 5 days to closing you need to get an extension, move it over to a mortgage broker. You do all that, and the mortgage broker pulls off a miracle and closes the deal in 7 to 10 days. Why did we start this way from the get-go? And explaining that to your clients from the beginning, and a lot of them trust us as realtors because This is their biggest purchase. They hired us. We're out there, especially now with the new laws in place. We signed contracts with them from the get-go. So they're like, okay, I trust you. I'll sign the paperwork. I'll work with you as my exclusive agent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're out there and they trust you. So they usually, and I think it's going to change a lot, they'll take your recommendations on your top three. So, hey, these are the three best brokers I've worked with. Choose.
Yep.
Or you want more, I'll give you more. Doesn't matter. But these are the guys I like to work with.
And like marketing works, right? And mortgage brokers, by and large, are small 1 to 5 person companies. There's certainly very large ones, and we're still getting organized. The Broker Action Coalition is only 3 years old, and what I'm about to describe is not necessarily our responsibility, but like it's some the associations are newer and this and that. And I say all that because banks and direct lenders, like they're on TV constantly, and like it works. It absolutely, and the consumers will lean towards that. And some of them do a great job, to be completely honest with you, but that works. And mortgage brokers don't have the ability to reach the audiences on a massive level to that degree. We tried doing a little Super Bowl campaign a couple years ago at an association I used to be on leadership with, but like that stuff takes a lot of money to be able to pull off effectively. And it's not always going to show immediate results right to the mortgage broker. And I'm hoping that broker focused organizations can start putting more and more of those sorts of things out directly to the consumer in the same way that banks and realtors and everyone else does. But it's just not happening right now.
In our area, what I've noticed, we have couple bigger mortgage broker companies, and they're on the buses, they're on the schools, they go on to events and all that stuff. So it's not like direct everyday bombardment on Fox News or CNN or something like that, like the big guys, the Wells Fargo, Bank of America, et cetera, et cetera. But everyday life, you're driving down the road, whoop, there's a face that I know and recognize. Oh, I'm driving my kid to school. There's a mortgage broker, there's a realtor, there's a blah blah blah, the roofing company, etc., on the fence of the school. So you start going about and thinking about, oh, these are local guys. They live in our communities. So they're putting, $500,000 towards the school to advertise there. That helps my kids. So why wouldn't I work with that guy more than a Bank of America that maybe sponsored Little League once or something like that? You get what I'm saying? And it's hard to get those sponsorships out of the big guys too, because it's talking to the person that's in charge of giving sponsorships. It's like going through like brick wall and a brick wall and another brick wall. Like you're feeling like Hulk trying to break through everywhere, you know?
No, I'm like, Florida's doing a better job than everywhere else. I don't know if that can always be said, but I'm glad they are here. And mortgage brokers are the decision makers. You're absolutely correct about that. Like we control our own expense account, and it's not just the person that owns a brokerage. And most of the time, like individual loan officers within a brokerage, they can make decisions too. If they want something, they can pay for it. That's no problem. That doesn't usually happen in the more corporate side of the mortgage world.
It happens in our area a lot,
Yeah.
a lot.
That's awesome.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we are more heavier on the mortgage broker side of doing loans, because they are doing the advertisement. They're co-advertising with realtors and et cetera, et cetera. So they do open houses with us. It's in the level that they're taking it to, because they're getting taught this, because they go to all the realtor events where they talk about advertising. So they sponsor those events, so they get to meet realtors, and then, hey, I can help you out with the open house. I can come with you, and we could do cookies together and sodas and whatnot for the people that come by, and then we could get them approved right there and then. Who needs a better service than that? Hey, there's a mortgage broker right here for you.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I love to hear it. I love it. I love it.
You've proven that even non-political professionals can make policy changes. What's your secret for turning frustration into results?
So, like the non-political aspect of it, I think that we got lots of sayings at the back. One of them is like when we're on Capitol Hill representing the back, or when we're reaching out to our legislators, we are not Republicans and we are not Democrats. We are pro-housing. And that is a bipartisan issue. So it helps deeply with that. And then it's just doing the work, like mobilizing. One of the advantages that we have over some other trade organizations, and we don't have a lot, they've been doing it longer and they're bigger and this and that, is that there are a lot of mortgage brokers and they all care. Like I just said, they're all decision makers. They all care deeply. Like it is their business. Even if they work for a brokerage, they're all their own brand. You'll see a lot of, even if they work for another brokerage, they'll say, my own brand powered by, and stuff like that. And I love that. We're all entrepreneurs and it makes us passionate. So our ability to get outreach to congressional offices is much greater than our size would indicate. And those letters matter. It might feel like you're sending it off into the black hole, but at the end of the day, your elected officials, like you're their boss. They are there to do what you want them to do. Do they always do it? Up to you. But on issues like this, they will absolutely listen. And then just hitting the streets. It helps that I could throw a rock and hit the DC border right now. So I'm able to get down there quite a bit and holding these meetings and just talking to them. Like they only know what they know. Think about the job of a politician, right? Like they, despite what you might see on TV, most of them, there's over 400 members of Congress. Most people can name the same 10, and they're probably not great. They're getting a lot of attention for not always the best reasons, but there's another 400 or whatever that they do care. And they're intelligent, reasonable people that you might not agree with all the time, but they are trying to do their best. The longer they're there, the less likely that is true, probably, but they absolutely do, but they can't be an expert on everything. You think of the number of issues that people are bringing to them. So two things. One, organize with the other groups that care about this issue, because you need to have your message aligned. If we're saying one thing and the NBA is saying the other, these congressional offices, they have so much on their plate. The easiest way for them to get things off it is say, go figure it out, come back to us when we do. It's a no in the meantime. So organize with other groups that care about the same thing. And you don't have to word for word be saying the same thing, but stay on point with the same messaging and stay organized and communicate with each other. And then just hit in the streets, get in front of them. They don't know that it's a problem unless you tell them that it is. And I would end with, these offices and your elected officials are so much more accessible than you think they are. On a local level, every single member of Congress has a local office that you can walk into, and they will listen to you. I promise you they will. And are they going to do what you do every time they say it? No, but they will listen. And if enough people say the same thing to them, then they're going to do it. And yeah, you have so much more agency than you think you do. And that goes to literally everyone: realtors, mortgage professionals, citizens walking the street, all of you guys. So you have more power than you think.
No, thanks. What's the simplest way to plug in, even if someone has zero advocacy experience?
Rachel gets that question. How do I get involved?
How do I get involved? Yes.
The first step is honestly join the back, and it doesn't cost any.
Yep, Rachel froze, so I might pick up.
Thing to join and start getting the message in. And then as you get plugged in, you'll get the, hey, this is what we're working on. Here's where we need money. Here's where we need help. But our website, brokeractioncoalition.com, is, I would say, the first place to start. We have some great resources on the website that we have added, things we're working on, information. We also have a great Facebook group, if you're on Facebook and want to join more groups, that we do share a lot of information in there on, and have some webinars and stuff like that. So I would say, first up, go to our website, put your information in so that you can become part of our group, and then we'll share stuff from there with you.
Yep, the two, that'll get you, you'll start getting the monthly newsletter every month, updating you on everything they're working on, everything that's going on. And then we have a monthly call called Advocacy for All, where we're just getting a bunch of people on and running through it. And that's step one. There's a lot of other ways to get involved, but you do those two things and you'll learn what we're doing, and then you'll be like, I'm interested in helping on this specific issue, and then we'll have opportunities for you to be able to do.
So if we could elaborate a little bit about that monthly Advocacy for All calls, what can someone expect if they join there?
Sure. We'll have a different leader from our organization leading it. So we have lots of different brokers that spearhead different initiatives, whether it's our regional captains. So we've sliced up the country into, try not to gerrymander it too much, but you get the idea. And then we have council chairs. So whether it's veteran homeownership or Black homeownership, et cetera, et cetera. And one of them will oftentimes lead the call and walk through some of the things that we have going on. And then I'll usually hop in and do a federal update on the different legislation that we're advocating for, as well as regulation that we're working on changing. LO comp is a big one right now that we're very much focused on. And then we usually have some sort of, we try to speak to people's self-interest and drag them in with their self-interest and then teach them some things along the way. So we'll always highlight somebody that is doing something special in their community and getting business in a unique way. So we've had a lot of stuff on AI, and it's not like AI is AI general, get on ChatGPT. We will have a mortgage broker showing, here is how I am using ChatGPT or AI or whatever it is, and have people tangible things that they can walk from to be able to serve their community better and do more business.
Also, the fight doesn't stop here. What's next for the Broker Action Coalition?
LO comp, I just mentioned, is the big one. So loan officer compensation, they're in the fallout of the 2008 financial crisis, Dodd-Frank, and all the regulation that followed it. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed in that. And I say that in as non-critical a way as possible because we weren't just facing a housing crisis and not just a nationwide financial crisis. It was a global financial meltdown and caused by housing. But to be fair to DC, like they had to make a lot of changes very quickly. And frankly, they did a pretty good job. Like the housing market, I should say the mortgage market is stable. We have a housing crisis, a housing shortage crisis, and there's reasons for that. The mortgages ain't the problem, right? And things are very stable, but unshockingly, they got some stuff wrong or could have done some things better. So we want to go back and fix some of those. And loan officer comp is one of them. And there's the banks and non-bank lenders definitely have some loan officer comp issues as well. We are focused specifically on mortgage brokers, of course. And one of them is that mortgage brokers are capped at 3% compensation on a transaction, which you might hear and be like, well, that's plenty of money. And first of all, don't tell me how much money we should make. Thank you very much. But second of all, the real reason that's the case is some of the stuff that you've talked about, some of these more difficult transactions that require a massive amount of legwork, people should be properly compensated for them, or else they're not going to serve those consumers. And the easy example that I give is, so I'm in the DC metropolitan area. My average loan amount is $640,000. Average credit score is 760. They can be no cap on comp. I'm still going to be below 2%, and I'll stay there, right? And that's, I probably average 1.5. There are markets that are not like that. And in the middle of the country where the average loan amount might be $60,000 and the people are very credit challenged, you cannot run a remotely profitable business at 3% on those transactions. And what has happened as a result is those people are underserved, and those areas are called mortgage deserts. You basically have to go to a credit union to be able to get financing there, which is great. The credit unions are doing a great job, but they oftentimes require 20% down and all this different that a lot of people cannot do, where if mortgage brokers could serve those markets, they could offer all the 3% down, this, that, non-traditional financing, but we can't. We technically could, but
It's not worth it.
We'd be running a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So we want to fix that.
How will upcoming LO comp or GSE reforms affect Florida buyers?
I would say in a huge way. So one, let me think about the Florida market for a second. There are definitely parts of Florida that fit the description that I just made. And that's not as
We do
many
have
as
those
others.
areas
Yep.
that have lower income people or cheaper housing. I don't look my average sale price. I'm pretty much on the higher end, 540,000, I think is my average sale price. But the average sale price in our area is probably $330,000. And then the loan of that, if you're putting 20% down, is even lower. So 260 or whatever that is. So you're looking at that's the loan amount that you're making 3% off. So way lower than your area, for example, in DC.
Correct. Now, they're also like our underserved communities. And because those communities might be underserved, even if the loan amounts aren't all that small, you think about people that grew up in areas where the financial education, they might be first generation home buyers, and maintaining good credit and doing things like that are just not things they necessarily grew up with. And they're being improperly punished as a result because of the way our system works. Now, there are solutions for those consumers, but they take a lot. Those require a lot more man hours to complete those transactions. And there's a lot of brokers and loan officers out there serving some of those people, but we would like more of it. And we would like it to we would like it to make more business sense. I want serving those consumers to be just as profitable as me serving the upper middle class of the DC metropolitan area. There's no reason that one should be more profitable than the other. There should be just as much competition. And one of the reasons I'm below 2%, and other than I don't need it to make a living, is if I was higher than that, I wouldn't be competitive because it's a very competitive market. I want it to be just as competitive to serve those communities. And I want every bank, every lender, every broker to be fighting with each other to get the business in those communities. And for that to happen, they need to be able to make enough money to reimburse them for the amount of time that they're going to spend on those transactions. I think that's a very reasonable request.
I think so too. Think about just marketing costs or anything like that. If you, as you mentioned, let's say a $60,000 purchase on a property and they're making whatever, 10% to $10,000 down, $50,000 note, you're getting $1,500 at a 3% rate. $1,500 doesn't get you far. It doesn't for sure doesn't pay for your office expenses, your assistant, your marketing and everything. If you do one or two, you have to do quite a bit of those loans, which is In a rural area, how many can you do? You're not talking about a city here.
And then do them efficiently, right?
Yes.
And that's the tough part too. And I'll tell you something that surprised me recently. We were fortunate enough to be invited to a roundtable on a separate topic, GSE reform, something we're also focused on. So Fannie and Freddie coming out of conservatorship at the Treasury, the United States Treasury, which was really cool. I took my name tag with me, but there was a number of consumer groups, consumer housing groups that were there, and they were saying the same thing that I just said right now. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, you guys want us to make more money too. This is great, which is not actually their motivation. But I was really glad to see that I'm making this consumer first pitch, but I'm not just doing it because I'm looking for a way to pitch it. I believe in what I'm saying, but at the end of the day, I don't think that mortgage brokers should be told what they can and can't make when no one else is. I think that's fundamentally wrong. But I know that's not an argument that resonates with legislators,
Hey,
nor
that was
should
the
it.
same argument they were using for us realtors last year, the attorneys. Like, oh, they're making way too much money. I think the attorneys made $1 billion. I think that's way too much money on that. By the way, why doesn't he give back 95% of that to the
Oh,
consumers
well,
that got paid $100 that were on that lawsuit? You
yeah,
know,
they're not
he's
talking
talking
about
about us
how
making too much money. Look into your own pocket first, buddy.
tort
Yeah.
law, no, consumer class action lawsuits. You should see
40%.
the
40%.
on that. Oh my God.
It's what is that? Charged maybe 2, 3% for my services. You charged 40%. And you're talking about us making too much
Or
money?
higher. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about us making too much money. I think that's unfair. Now you're set for life and generations to come in your downline of people. I think that was insane. And some people, this is where I think Congress should step in and say, hey, you're fighting for them making too much money, but you're asking for 40%. Sorry. Maybe you should cut your fees there, buddy.
I don't disagree with you, my friend. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, I stick to what I know.
Yeah, I know. This is the thing. An attorney's never going to fight another attorney to make less money. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So attorneys will always be ending up making more and more money and destroying every other industry out
Where's
there,
Aaron Brockovich when you need her, man? I don't know.
So what can the industry do to stay united and proactive?
I definitely want Rachel to answer this too, but the united part incredibly important. There's an issue within the mortgage industry that realtors may or may not be aware of. I hope they're not. The channels fight with each other, like broker, retail, this or that all needs to stop. And I suggest that you stop doing it everywhere, but definitely stop in DC. Don't bring that to DC. But even within the broker community, there's ridiculous division among which lenders you work with. And it's bullshit and it needs to end. It's like this level of corporate brand loyalty that frankly is embarrassing. I'm not loyal to one corporation or another. I'm loyal to the back and to McKay Mortgage. That's the brands I represent. And I suggest everyone else do the same. It's like I made this point the other week. It's like getting mad at somebody because you drink Coke and they drink Pepsi. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it needs to stop. And it sounds obvious, but like it's real. It's a real division and it's causing problems and it hurts our ability to advocate. And I'm sick of it because it's ridiculous and it's a waste of time, but it matters. It is causing real harm in our ability to make change and it needs to stop.
Rachel?
And I would say the way that we stay united is to focus on the consumer. At the end of the day, our goal is to get people in homes because we know homeownership leads to generational wealth and it leads to more stability in these things. So if we take and say, as mortgage brokers, our focus is the consumer and getting more consumers owning their home, what do we need to do for that? All of the other stuff should fall away. If the MBA is focused on how do we get more people in homes, then guess what? Then we're going to start aligning on things. Realtors, they want to get more people in homes. We're going to start aligning on these things if we put the consumer first. And at the end of the day, that's what's most important because those are our clients. Those are the people we're trying to serve, whether it's getting them in a home or helping educate them on financial issues, things like that. If we're focused on them, then we're too busy to focus on the differences.
Awesome. What an incredible story of impact, guys. Proof that when real estate and mortgage pros come together, real change happens. To learn more or get involved, visit brokeractioncoalition.com and follow them on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X at Broker Action Co. You can also join their free monthly advocacy for all call every second Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern open to everyone in the industry. If today's episode inspired you, share it with a colleague and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or YouTube. It helps more professionals find conversations that move our industry forward. I'm Lancelot Lenard, and this is the Real Estate Roundtable, where the brightest minds in real estate meet innovation, advocacy, and opportunity. See you next episode. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.